Welcome to When Good Things Happen, where our mission is to inspire people to discover and learn about all the things that can really make the golden years the very best of your life and share a few financial ideas to help you make your vision for retirement a reality. Host Tom Gandolfi is your guide on a how-to adventure to help enhance your retirement lifestyle.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of When Good Things Happen. This is Tom Gandolfi, and want to say Happy New Year to everyone. We've got 2021 behind us, which for, I think, many reasons might be a good thing, and we're looking at hopefully having a great new year. And I thought it'd be a good idea to kind of kick it off with something fun and exciting, and as we get the holidays behind us and we start looking at 2022 and all the good stuff we can do, I wanted to have Howard Moses back on. He's the owner of the Cruise and Vacation Authority, and what better time to start thinking about warm weather, maybe sunny beaches, and having a little bit of fun on vacation. So, Howard, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So last time we had you on, you were one of our earlier guests, and we talked about travel kind of coming back. The pandemic was still really hot and heavy. I think, knock on wood, that we're moving beyond that now. And I know that there's been a lot of demand for travel, and people are trying to get out and do things and kind of get back to where they were back in 2019 before the world went crazy. And wanted to kind of see what's going on in the whole travel business now.
Yeah, people are definitely trying to put COVID in their rearview mirror and move on with their life. We're gratefully getting busier and busier, seemingly by the week, with folks who are ready to do something more than go visit family.
Yeah.
And so we have a lot of interest in international travel. Oddly, we have a lot more interest in truly international travel. By that I mean South America, Europe, Asia, than we do in sort of the traditional cruise places like the Caribbean. Certainly there's interest, but folks have a lot of money, I think, that they've sort of allocated to travel that's been building up for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And now they're really looking to kind of blow it out and make up for those missed trips.
Yeah, I wish we had one of those applause sound effects we could do kind of in the background here. I'm glad people are doing that. So where are they going? You mentioned a couple places. Where's kind of the hot spot that you're seeing a lot of people book? South America?
South America, it's funny. I've gotten calls personally just from friends who are interested in going. Panama, Colombia, Belize are all very popular. They're obviously all warm weather destinations, but they're a little more exotic and maybe a little bit more interesting than just going to the Caribbean. Vietnam, Cambodia continues to be a very popular destination. Asia seems to be picking up again, even though that's when I say Asia, more Japan than China.
Surprise.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so, people are asking about Australia, and unfortunately their laws are still very prohibitive, so people can't go, but there's a lot of interest. New Zealand, people are very interested in. So, again, these far-flung, long-haul flights to get there, but people are willing to commit the time and the money to go on these trips. And so we've been doing a lot of pre-planning for people when these things are either open up, or they're more comfortable traveling there.
Yeah, absolutely. So this whole COVID thing, pandemic, it's obviously created a lot of polarization. And there's some people who are much more comfortable going to destinations that have more restrictions. And there's other people who don't want any restrictions.
Sure.
So if someone's maybe still a little concerned about personal health issues and want to go to a destination that's maybe a little more buttoned up in terms of mandates or restrictions, which destinations are a little more strict? Can you share a little bit of that? Yeah,
I mean, the truth is the line in the sand is whether you're willing to be vaccinated or not. And if you're not willing to be vaccinated, and I'm certainly not, we don't sit in judgment of anybody.
Sure.
Obviously, a very personal decision. But there are very few choices that you're going to have in terms of places to go to.
Okay.
I was at an event in Las Vegas last week, and everybody there was adamant about people wearing masks. and all the events that I went to, even if you pulled it down to drink a glass of water, they were like, pull your mask back up.
Yeah, but I got up and left.
Or they
I'm not going to deal with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the event that I went to.
Sorry.
But, so the cruise lines, and it's sort of controversial, but the cruise lines would much prefer to err on the side of safety. Mm-hmm. And so they're requiring everybody on board be vaccinated.
Okay.
Just this morning, Disney announced that they were requiring it too for people up till from 5 years in age and older.
I saw that myself.
And even the people from the young children prior to age 5 had to have a test. So they're again, what the cruise lines are doing is trying to create a very safe environment where no one's going to get sick, because what everybody's petrified of is what happened when this first broke out, when on the Diamond Princess in Japan, when the people were stuck and it was a disaster, and nobody really saw this coming. Well, the cruise lines are really good about looking into the future and figuring out what's the best way to treat it. But I will tell you that the folks who are coming back, who have to wear masks in public areas, and who were vaccinated, have all come back, and we've had nothing but compliments about the cruise lines and how they're operating things.
Good.
There's hand washing stations all over the ship. They no longer do buffets. You go and you're sort of given the food rather than the old buffet style where you reach and grab it yourself.
The feeding trough.
Yeah, it is. But the good news is that a lot of the cruise lines aren't full. Very few of them are going up full, so the service levels are very high. The staffs are all very glad to be there, glad to be making money again. And so all in all, it's not as bad as people think it is. And we've heard nothing, like I said, nothing but compliments about how they're managing the process on board.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So what about maybe people who aren't vaccinated for whatever reason? Again, I think what you said about it being a personal choice is sort of the key. People will make different decisions for different reasons, and I believe they're right. Are there places they can go that are still pretty receptive and friendly to people who don't have, a fully vaccinated status?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that is obviously going to be someplace that you can drive to, or you're willing, if you're flying. I mean, I know customers who won't even wear a mask on, aren't willing to wear a mask on an airplane. And as we all know, the airlines are
they're pretty locked down.
Pretty adamant about that you do that. So we have a lot of people. I mean, I've had people call me up and complain about what the CDC says, or the World Health Organization. And I was like, I just own a travel agency, and I'm in the business of putting you on trips.
You can't make those decisions, unfortunately.
And I'm not here to tell anybody yes or no. I mean, we give them the options.
Right.
But I think that a lot of the European countries are still really adamant about vaccinations. And truthfully, and this is just my personal opinion, but I don't see that changing in the near future. It's going to be, I think, years before we're able to wrangle this thing and get it under control to the point that people don't have to be vaccinated or don't have to wear a mask, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's obviously taking a path down a different road. And, one of the challenges we're going to have, I think, not just as a country, but as a global society, is the definitions that they use to decide who falls into what bucket are not consistent. And I think that's probably something you're keeping an eye on, or at least I would imagine, because if different countries start changing the standard for quote unquote fully vaccinated, it's going to create some challenges.
There's lots of confusion. We actually, we're a member of a consortium called Signature Travel Network, and one of the services that they've provided is a website called Sherpa. And what Sherpa does is you load in your trip, and if it's a cruise or land or whatever, and they monitor on an hour-by-hour basis the laws and rules of of all the countries that you're going to. And as those situations change, you're notified personally, not just through your travel advisor, but each person is notified, hey, they've changed it, and now you have to do this, and now you have to be vaccinated. Nice. Yeah, it's a great service. And it takes the onus off of us because, it's the whole world. It's very hard. That's a full-time job just to manage that process. So we load in our clients and then their itinerary, And so once you do that, you get an app on your phone and you're notified what's going on, and you can make those changes. And people find that very comforting, and we find it very comforting because obviously we don't want to be on the hook if Italy changes their mind about something and we don't find out about it.
Yeah.
And so there's been a lot of that kind of going on. So the marketplace is reacting to what's going on in the travel industry and giving people control over the scenarios so that they're able to sort of monitor what's going on everywhere in the world and where they're going. And
it's good.
So, and we talk to people all the time, and they ask that question, if I can't go here and there, where can I go? And look, the United States is an amazing place. I've been fortunate to travel and go out west and go to the parks. And of course, I'm not, these days the parks are overwhelmed. And we tell people, even with that, whether we book them or not, even just talking to them as friends, that you need to plan pretty far in advance for things that are domestic, because like the parks were overrun this summer, and so they were on, and I'm talking about all the national parks in Canada and the United States, and people, you had to have permits and pre-authorized forms to get into the park, and hotel reservations, and even campsites and all that. Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow.
And we had a friend, just as a personal story, and he says, "Oh, that's due to I don't need to do all that stuff." And they drove for 2 days to get out to Yosemite, and got there, and they said they couldn't stay within 100 miles of the park.
Jeez.
Every hotel, every parking space, and then the campers would pull up on the side of the road. And then the police were coming and telling them, you can't stay here, you've got to leave.
Wow.
So they ended up driving all the way back. And
Yikes.
Yeah, so you need to, these days travel takes a little more planning than it might have in years past. And you can't find out everything you're looking for on the internet. So, just completely biased. Our travel advisors, that's one of the things that we do, is we monitor all this information and let people know what's going on and help guide them through the process so that they can get the trip that they want.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So I would assume you can help with drive-away vacations. Rather than, a lot of people I think when they contact a travel agent, they've either got to be getting on a boat or a plane. But if someone wants to go to a national park, you can help with hotels and travel arrangements in that way too as an agency, I'm sure, right?
Sure. And there are lots of tour operators that we work with that do things in the United States, and so we work with them because they're really close to the situation, and they're booking their hotel space years out, so that whereas you might not be able to get a deal when you call up or have one of us call up, we work through a lot of tour operators who put all the pieces together, and they already have that blocks of space at reasonable rates generally, already taken care of. And so we find that's it's a very comforting way to travel for most people.
Yeah, definitely. That makes some sense. So are you guys willing to help be sort of a creative source for ideas? A lot of times with travel, people want to go somewhere, but either they can't go to their chosen destination for any number of reasons, or maybe they just want to try something different, but they don't know where to go. Can you help out?
That is our favorite kind of customer.
Great.
I love people who walk in and say, I've got $10,000 and I want to take my family somewhere warm.
All right, I'm putting you on the spot. Give me a few ideas.
So, obviously besides the cruise options, as I mentioned before, places like Colombia and Belize and Panama, which are not on most people's radar, are really wonderful places. The costs there are dramatically lower than some of the resort places in the Caribbean. And there's a lot of really fun stuff to do. We did I did a trip to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands a couple of years ago with my family.
Nice.
And it's not something that most people think about, but I'll tell you, my kids to this day, and these are they're both in their 20s, said it was the best trip they'd ever gone on.
Really?
Yeah. And then we went to Costa Rica, which is, it's not like no one's ever heard of it, but very few people have ever been there. And if you're an adventurous sort, we were zip lining and rappelling and canyoneering, and it was awesome.
That's cool.
I have to say, it was so much fun. And I've sent lots of our friends just from, dinner conversations, telling them about the trip. And they're like, oh, that's fantastic. I want to do that. And we've sent them, and they came back and they said, you're absolutely right. And that was, in their minds, it was so much better than just going and doing like a basic sort of 7-day Caribbean cruise.
Right. Something different and off the beaten path. So what about domestically? There's, like you said, this is a great country. It's an amazing country. And I know that there are all kinds of destinations here that people don't really think about because they're not maybe quite as touristy. Maybe they're not quite as popular. Maybe just haven't gained the notoriety maybe they deserve yet. Can you give me a few ideas domestically where people might want to go that is something different and would be fun?
Well, when in the United States, you've got Hawaii, which is like its own little place, and then Alaska, which is its own place. And those are, two very, very popular destinations. And then you've got, like I said, all the national parks. You have, for people who are a little bit more adventurous, there are touring companies, like there's a company called Backroads, and there's about 5 or 6 companies who do what they do. But they're more, it's either cycling or hiking or a combination of cycling and hiking, kayaking and rafting and tubing and all these kinds of things that you put together. And they go to places that honestly that you or I probably wouldn't find or wouldn't know to go there. And you get to this place and you're like, wow, this is fantastic. How come nobody's here?
Yeah, I love the hidden gems like that.
Yeah.
I had a client in just a couple weeks ago, and they were telling me about this quick little 5-day getaway that they had planned. And it was just really cool. They hit all of these places that were not far away. They never got on a plane. They did it by car. But they stayed in a bunch of really neat hotels. They did some things that were kind of off the beaten path. And I think there's so much of that can be done. But, people need a helping hand to find that stuff. And it would be great if you could provide that.
Sure. There are tons of places. Even like just as close as the Smoky Mountains, there's the name escapes me right now. I'll think of it. But there's something berry farm, and I'm going to hiccup here because I can't remember what it's
okay.
called.
All right.
But it's an over the top. It's very expensive, but the restaurant there is amazing. And again, that's it's a couple hours away, and you could go there for a long weekend with your family and have a really great experience.
New England, Cape Cod's a very interesting destination, or Maine, or Vermont. People never go there. They
do, yeah. Martha, I've been to Martha's Vineyard a couple times, and it's wonderful. But it's not a sort of typical place for people from the South to go to. It's
not. You're right.
Yeah. And like I said, out west is like that. And even the Ozarks, there are some really nice resorts around there, and nobody, from here ever thinks about that.
And you can drive there. It's not too bad.
You can, especially people who have, a week or 10 days to put into a trip like that.
Yeah.
And there's even remote parts of Florida and in the Panhandle that are great. People ask me all the time, you travel, where's the best beach in the world and that sort of thing. And I tell them, Seaside, Rosemary, down there, those are some of the nicest beaches you'll ever visit. And, of course, lots of people from here go there. But there are other places, little towns along the way, sort of the old Florida. Mexico Beach used to be like that.
Yeah, that's before it got leveled.
Yeah, exactly. But there are places like that along the way. And as you make it around the Big Bend down into Central Florida.
Yeah, Marco Island's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the other thing that has been a really interesting experience for us is that we work with hotels. Our consortium negotiates special packages with sort of higher end deluxe hotels, 4 and 5 stars, and with lots of value added amenities, whether it be upgrades or better pricing or breakfast included, all those kinds of amenities included in. Nice. And we find that people, again, because of that sort of buildup of savings for travel, are using those funds to sort of stay at a nicer hotel than they might otherwise. And those hotels, again, can offer experiences that you might not be able to get elsewhere. So
yeah, that's pretty cool.
It really is. And
makes it unique.
It does. And whereas somebody might normally go and stay at a Hyatt, now they're staying at a Four Seasons and having a very different kind of experience.
Yeah, and it's for anybody who's listening, I would really encourage you to make this year one where you do things you want to do. Life's uncertain, And we just got, kind of through the whole gift giving season, and all those things are wonderful and great and fun and all that stuff. But making memories to me is priceless. And that's what travel and vacations are all about. And people need to get out and do that again. It's I think it's really important, and I think they'll all be thrilled that they do.
Well, I'm going to get a little morose on you here and give you another viewpoint to think about. My dad is 83 years old. Mm-hmm. He was a lifelong smoker and now suffers from COPD and emphysema and is really not doing well. Mm-hmm. And he lives down in South Georgia, and I've been visiting him very frequently over the last month. And so I was, laying there talking to him, and we were just talking about the good old days and this kind of thing. And he was one of these workaholic guys. It took him 3 tries to even retire. Mm-hmm. He retired and then got back. He got bored and got back into it.
Got a few clients like that.
Yeah. So one of his lifelong goals was to see the Northern Lights. Mm-hmm. And, you have to get up pretty far north to do that. It's a longer trip. You have to be in either northern Canada or up in Norway, that area.
Right.
He never did that. He never made the time to do it. He would go, he'd go down to the Caribbean for 4 or 5 days, but he would never commit to a 10-day or 2-week trip, which is what it kind of takes to do that. Mm-hmm. And so, again, he's by and large bedridden now and unable to travel. And he said one of his greatest regrets was that he didn't do that trip. And I told him that I was going to be doing this podcast, and he said, he grabbed me by the shirt and said, be sure to tell those people, do it while you can, because it'll be gone before you know it.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I believe that myself. I encourage people all the time to, go out and live. Do the things that you want to do, because tomorrow is uncertain. And you want to go out and do what you can every day.
Well, there's that old saying that nobody ever laid on their deathbed saying, I wish I'd have worked more.
Right, exactly.
And
or sat on the couch more.
Yeah. So, it's very frustrating. And I see it a lot in people, and they don't want to commit the funds to it, or they don't want to commit the time, or they always think they can do it tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But then something happens either to them or a spouse or a child or, whatever.
Absolutely. Life happens.
Life does happen. And so, my words of advice from my dear old dad is to do it while you can and don't wait.
Thank you very much for sharing that. That's a great story, and I think it's one that people should listen to heading into a new year. Get out, do what you want to do, make life count. I really think it's important. Yeah. See the things you want to see.
Absolutely.
Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up on that. I can't really top that story, and that's really the message I want to kind of close on. So if you're listening and you kind of have an itch to get out and see something new, give Howard and his team a call at the Cruise and Vacation Authority. You can find them on the web as well. Their website is www.tcava.com. That's tcava.com. And I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help you out with your travel needs.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for coming in, and Happy New Year, everyone. And get out and do something fun.
Thank you for listening to When Good Things Happen. If you enjoyed today's show, visit whengoodthingshappen.com to share your retirement lifestyle dream, access information about our guests, and sign up for our newsletter. Be sure to rate and review us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Three Bridges Financial Group is an independent financial services firm that utilizes a variety of investment and insurance products. Investment advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management LLC, AEWM. AEWM and Three Bridges Financial Group are not affiliated companies. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This podcast is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Three Bridges Financial Group is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute as tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Three Bridges Financial Group.